Welcome to WSJ Live. It's the big interview. I'm Simon Constable, and today we're joined by Lord Nigel Lawson, former Chancellor of the Exchequer of the UK, which is roughly equivalent to US Treasury Secretary. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for asking me.
When you were Chancellor of the Exchequer, you were in charge of both monetary policy and fiscal policy for the UK. What do you think about what's happening in the world now when we look at all the money printing going on by the European Central Bank, by the Federal Reserve? Do you think that is the right thing to do, or do you think it will lead to problems?
I think it was necessary to do something like that in the immediate aftermath of the banking meltdown. There was a real shattering of confidence, and I think it was necessary to do something, but I think now it's been overdone.
It's been overdone. And what do you think the consequences of that will be?
The danger is the difficulty of unwinding it, and the time will come when it has to be unwound, because they're not there now, but there will be sometime in the future inflationary pressures re-emerging, and it will be necessary to move quite quickly, and I don't think they know how to do it.
Well, it's never been done before. The definition unprecedented hasn't really been done before.
That's right.
The US is talking about it, and the European Central Bank is actually going ahead and doing more money printing. Which has the bigger problem?
I think that probably the European Union, because it is all at sixes and sevens, has a bigger problem. I'm very glad that the United Kingdom has remained outside the Eurozone and conducts its own policy, and I think it has a better chance of being successful. At the moment, people are worried about deflation, not about inflation. And indeed, inflation now in the United Kingdom is a big round zero. But I think that's very satisfactory. I don't think we should be concerned about that. I don't think we should say, this is terrible, we have a 2% inflation target, we must get inflation up. But people are saying that, but that would be crazy.
Why do you think that's crazy? Because over here, on this side of the Atlantic, a lot of Federal Reserve officials saying, we've got to get it to 2%, we've got to get it there. You'd have been happy with 0%.
I'd be very happy with 0%. I think most people, the man and woman in the street, the people in the household, they would be very happy with 0. I think that the idea of 2%, when it first came in, we'd been in an inflationary age and thought that, well, the extra effort of getting it below 2% would be too much, it would be too difficult, let's settle for 2%. But I think that's obsolete now. I think we can go very well with 0, because a lot of things are happening. There's been the oil price crash, or fall anyway. There are also, one of the developments that you see all the time with modern technology is that prices come down. Prices of computers come down, prices of other technological gizmos come down. So that balances where things are going up, and I think 0 is fine.
0 is fine. You said you were glad that the UK stayed out of the Euro, and we have a lot of contention within the Eurozone now between Germany and Greece. What do you think the solution to that problem is?
Well, the best solution would be the orderly dissolution of the Eurozone. That's not going to happen in a hurry. Some people, particularly businessmen who think always in economic terms, they think that the Eurozone was an economic project. It was never an economic project. It never made economic sense. It was a political project. It was a stepping stone to a full-blooded political union, because it is quite clear, and I made a speech in, I think, 1989 before it started, predicting this, that you cannot have a monetary union working without a fiscal union, as you have with the monetary union that is the United States. You have the fiscal union. You cannot have a fiscal union without a political union. And that was the purpose behind it. Jacques Delors, who I knew very well, and others, their objective all the time was to get a full-blooded political union. But that's not going to happen. I don't think the people of Europe, the great numbers of people in Europe don't want it. I nowadays live in France. The French people don't want it. So the whole thing makes no sense at all.
Doesn't it make sense, though, for increasing trade between the countries, because you don't have the currency risks of currencies going up and down and moving around in ways that they used to?
No, the United States has no difficulty in trading with the world, even though it has its own currency. The Chinese are doing very well trading with the world, and they have their own currency. No, you don't need that. You do need free trade. You do need trade liberalization, and the absence of excessive tariff barriers and so on, ideally with the absence of tariff barriers altogether, but that's a different matter. You don't need a single currency. A single currency doesn't make sense. If it did make sense, you have it for the entire world.
About the orderly dissolution of the Eurozone, do you think Greece goes first?
I think that's likely. There's a game of chicken going on. the Greeks are not going to do the reforms that the Germans say are necessary, because they think at the end of the day the Germans will flinch and they won't chuck the Greeks out. They won't force a Greek default. The Germans think that the Greeks are going to crumble, and they're going to, if Angela Merkel stays firm, then the Greeks will succumb to what the Germans and the Troika are saying they must do. But this is going to end sometime, and I think that the problems of the Greek indebtedness, given the nature of the Greek economy, are completely insupportable. And whatever name or polite name is given, there'll be some kind of Greek default, which will probably lead to Greece leaving the monetary union.
Do you think that the Germans have been too harsh on the Greeks in terms of wanting them to pay back the debts that they... I mean, what it looks like from the outside is that the banks lent imprudently, and they maybe deserve to have lost some money. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that the main fault is the way the Greek economy works, which is not a model for anybody to emulate. Okay,
could you be specific?
Well, it is very difficult to collect taxes, which doesn't help with the fiscal thing. It is intensely corrupt. They had for many, many years ridiculously early retirement, particularly for public officials. It was a crazy economy altogether. Individual Greeks work very hard, but the way the economy as a whole works it is quite impossible for them to maintain within the Eurozone. They were only brought into the Eurozone. I remember Jacques Delors telling me, they were only because he thought that the Greeks were the historic ancient Greeks. They were the cradle of European civilization, and they have to be, even though they didn't qualify by any of the tests. And they got, as you know, Goldman Sachs to cook their accounts for them to make it look on the day as if they'd complied, but they hadn't.